only question is, do you want me to hold it like that so you can see if people...
Now, so.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you turned it on. That was smooth.
Hello.
Hello.
From Bentley University.
You can't make up live.
Yeah, that's right. And we are here because Maine has the second of their preseason doubleheaders. They played Holy Cross last weekend and kicked some butt. Girls were pitching great. Our daughter's a pitcher for the Black Bears, and they were also hitting the ball awesome. They have 11 freshmen on their team this year, coming all the way from as far as California. And we do have one of my constituents who is a freshman this year, and Grace McGouldrick. She played for Gorham last year, and all 4 years. I think she was varsity athlete all 4 years in multiple sports, but softball being her main. And like my daughter, she was recruited by the team to play. And so she played super well last week. Lily played really well, pitched 4 innings, didn't allow any runs, so that was all good. But the real reason I'm talking to you is because just wanted to say that now we have wrapped up session and we finally got some important things finalized. We were able to give pay increases for people who take care of others at home, group homes, things like that, home care workers, direct care workers. And we were also able to get tax conformity, which is incredibly important for small businesses. There's some great things in there, not property tax relief, but some income tax relief for middle income people. And then it's just really, really important for businesses to not have to keep 2 sets of books, one for the federal government and one for the state government. And it's also super important because our Maine Revenue Services does not do audits. They depend upon the federal government to do audits. So if Maine had not conformed to the federal tax code, then we would have had to hire auditors and start doing our own audits, which would have been a huge expense to the state. So very pleased that we were finally able to get agreement on that issue. And we get a lot of people think that we don't work well together in the legislature, and this was an extraordinarily difficult, challenging 2-year session. I don't think that anyone would dispute that. But I do want to tell you that the Senate was really not the place where most of the holdup happened. Most of the holdup was down at the other end of the building in the House. I don't think even any of the House members would disagree with me there. And then also there were some issues with everybody, unfortunately, being able to get along and get on the same page as the chief executive. At the end of the day, what he wanted was a bill that he felt was really important, that deals with preventing municipalities from being able to foreclose upon and sell property that belongs to... Come on through. I think most of the
more Maine
people are
fans.
over there.
Thank you.
Yeah, but to not be able to just foreclose upon property, elderly people who can't afford their property taxes. I do want to remind anyone who is not claiming the homestead tax exemption, we've been expanding that, and the state used to do a lot more with revenue sharing. And let me just tell you why we no longer do, because property taxes are a major issue in my district. Lots of people, fortunately Scarborough, I don't think is seeing a property tax increase this year, but Gorham is seeing an increase, and I believe Buxton is seeing an increase. And it's a major problem for people who particularly live on fixed incomes in property that has dramatically increased in value. And you know what? They don't want to have to sell that property, even though it may have a much bigger value than it used to have, because to move someplace else is also going to be expensive. And they may have lived in the same home for 50 years. I know my grandmother lived in the same home her entire adult life. She never moved. She died in that home, and actually it's now owned by my brother and my sister-in-law. So we cut back on a lot of the municipal revenue sharing, partly because we were going through a period where we needed to cut back in all of our spending on state government, and that was an area that it really did hurt the municipalities. They felt it, and sometimes they passed those taxes on, unfortunately, to property tax owners. property owners through property tax increases. But the other thing is, if you think about it, even if revenue sharing results in lower property taxes, those lower property taxes benefit anybody who owns either a second home or an out-of-state resident who owns property in Maine, right? It also benefits businesses. Now, I'm all for benefiting businesses, but property taxes are usually not the thing that we hear businesses complaining about. It's usually individual residents that have an issue with property taxes. So the direct property tax relief is now done through the homestead tax exemption. You need to be claiming this on your property, on your income tax. There are forms available. There's a form available on my Facebook page. I posted it earlier this week. If you can't find it, contact me. I will mail one to you. No problem. And then Scarborough and Gorham also have for low-income people. Now, the homestead tax exemption is for any Maine resident who pays income tax and also owns property in Maine. But some of my towns, Gorham and Scarborough, both have property tax relief programs for low-income people. Those programs you need to ask about at the Gorham Town Hall or the Scarborough Town Hall. And I think you've probably missed the deadline for this year, but put in your application for next year. It's not a great deal of money, but it's certainly money that if you saw it laying around, you'd put it in your pocket. So you definitely want to take advantage of those programs. So that's about it. That's kind of all I decided to focus on. And I hope everybody enjoys this lovely fall day. It's kind of breezy here in Waltham at Bentley University. We're going to have a doubleheader getting started soon. And oh, there's our Lily. And Maddie Decker. And Maddie's from Pennsylvania, right? Yep, Pennsylvania. So we've got girls from all over the place on this team. It's a great group, really fun. They're already having a good season, and we really enjoy seeing them play. So have a great Saturday.